Oh yeah, it's a solo rant. It's a solo rant. I didn't sleep that well last night. Still went to the gym. Oh, what is that? Is that a new hoodie? You're goddamn right it is. It's the Pharaoh, but I superimposed. Mind you, all these designs are from like 3 years ago. I superimposed like the eye of Horus, and like shit. It's blue and cuffs are blue, inside's blue. It's just this weird kind of fucking hippie, trippy, dippy. Blah, 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 blah. Go buy the merch, guys. It's the best merch. It truly is the best merch. Like, that's something that I don't need to even be realistic about. It's the best merch in the game. Everyone else has, just their logo on a t-shirt from like Teespring, which is cool. I mean, whatever. But who the fuck out there actually designs their own merch and not just like, I dragged and dropped? I mean, no, who goes into a spiraling hole of Ritalin and sleep deprivation while listening to tropical EDM remixes for weeks on end as your half-paralyzed, blind, deaf 17-year-old dog pisses off your dad and your parents won't turn on the air conditioner, so you're just going insane above their garage playing on an iPad trying to make it work as a graphic designer, not knowing that it wouldn't actually ever work despite your positivity, but instead you pick up a microphone and start yelling at a camera, and a year and a half later you got an apartment paid for it by it. I don't know. Does anyone else have that? There's conflict diamonds. There's like blood money. This is insanity merch. It comes from insanity. It grows from Oscar, rest his soul, love him, never shut up. Just never shut up. Always pissed everyone off. Everyone was so tired all the time, and he just couldn't see. He'd stand up and he'd fall over and he'd shit, and then he'd eat his own shit and he'd throw it up on you, and you wouldn't see it, and you'd step in it, and oh fuck, and you drag it around the house, and then you gotta go around the house and you're cleaning everything, and you're butting heads with your parents because you're 28, 29, 30, and you don't want to be there anymore, but no one's actually making you stay there. You could walk out at any time, and then the reality sets in that they're doing you a favor by letting you stay there, and you have no room to bitch. You're just being a brat. Most parents would kick you out at 18, and there I was at 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And then you gotta go to the liquor store and your fucking guts hanging over your shirt, so you gotta wear 2 tank tops underneath just to keep it suppressed, and then you realize you're wearing a girdle like a fucking 1920s madam, or even a post-presidential LBJ before he grew his hair out and got all depressed. He took off the girdle. You can look that up. When you got a piercing fucking headache working at the liquor store and you keep slicing your fingers on the boxes of Sky vodka and you keep having to piss, but it's only when you're out in public that you realize you got a low bladder and everyone's always kind of looking at you. Why are you pissing? Everyone else is seemingly content just living that life, just getting high and getting drunk every night after work, and you're wondering, am I just in a rat wheel? Is this some perverted 21st century boring dystopia twist on Sisyphus? When you realize and you catch yourself telling everyone that I got into medical school, because as time goes on you realize that's really the only thing you've ever amounted to, is you got into medical school, so you wave it around like a retired or like a 40-year-old drunk still wears his letter jacket at a bar. Did I ever tell you about the fourth quarter Hail Mary I threw? And the insanity goes on and on and on, but you keep designing because fuck it, there's nothing else worth doing. You already lost one sibling to suicide, so you can't pull the trigger because that would just really fuck your family. So you keep designing. You turn up the EDM a little louder and you just pretend you're in Hawaii as you're beating on your iPad and it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter. So you put an ice pack under it. That might have destroyed the innards. And you keep dropping designs, and it's not good enough that they're 4K. You want to make them 6K. You want to make them 8K. You put 50 hours, 60 hours, 70 hours into a perfect design, better than anyone else had, and they're, well, I'm not sure if that will work as a Christmas card. But you keep pushing, and you keep pushing, and then one day you push through the veil, and someone reaches out to you and says, hey, I would be interested in investing in your podcast. And you're not quite sure what to make of it. But you do your research, You talk with your old man, and it turns out it's legit. Then you quit your job. You're still very nervous. And after a couple months of not having to work at a 9 to 5, it starts to dawn on you that it's real. But the dog's the dog's dead. You're still butting heads with your parents. You still can't turn on the air conditioner. It's still not your place. You're in a weird sort of limbo. And then you start looking for apartments. You find an apartment. And the money comes in. You sign for the apartment. And you're really nervous moving out because you've been at home for 5 years. And as much as you've been dreaming about getting out, you're still terrified of leaving. Because you came home after calling home in 2016 saying you're suicidal. So you're a little nervous about leaving. You don't move your furniture around the first night because you still feel like you're in your parents' house. But then the days start to go by and you realize this is your place. You can turn the AC down to 68, turn it down to 65, turn it down to 58, do whatever the fuck you want. You gotta foot the bill. Alright, you gotta keep a budget, open up an Excel sheet, haven't had to do this in a while, alright. You order some sound panels, you tack them up. You realize all those files you did aren't for naught. You open up a Shopify website and you start uploading these files. And you realize that they're much better than anyone else's. But still, like any artist, one, you feel like a douche for calling yourself an artist. But two, the recognition will come when it comes, if it comes. And then it slowly dawns on you that this is your life. That you wake up and go to the gym. You diet, down 6 pounds, 2 weeks. Shout out me. And you start, there's no one there to push you. So you push yourself. And you start listening to audiobooks on 1.5, 6, 7 speed. Maybe 2 speed. Maybe 2.5 if you know the book already. Take cold showers every day. Make sure you never miss a meditation. Turn off the video games at midnight. You got to be strict on yourself. Got to go to bed. You got to get sleep. Got to get groceries. But it starts to dawn on you that this is your life. And it's everything you've ever wanted. And it's finally transmuted. It's like the transubstantiation of bread into the body of Christ. This dream you've had for 5 years of getting your own place, paying the bills, doing what you like, when you like, how you like, with who you like, is your reality. And that I can sit down in front of a camera with a microphone and just ramble like a psychopath. And that is my job. And it's the realization that I think I'm the luckiest man in the world. I don't believe there's anyone else out there that is happier than I am. I think Post Malone's probably close. But I don't think he's got anything on me. Anyway, so I didn't have but yeah, seriously, buy the hoodie, buy the fucking merch, support the cast. God knows these YouTube communists aren't ever going to monetize me. I'm making about a penny a play off of Spotify, so please keep sharing it on Spotify. Send it to your friends. Buy the hoodies. I guarantee you that, and that's the weird thing about the hoodies is everyone that's ever bought a hoodie from me says the images on the website and on the podcast don't do it justice. And this is a high resolution camera, and they say it's better in real life. This is better in real life. Like MKBHD or Linus Tech Tips, they upload their videos in 8K, but you're only watching on like 360p on your phone. You can't see the quality of this hoodie. Look closely. See those little lines? Those are little tiny mini pharaohs woven in the most minuscule level. Can't get that quality. Come on now. It's fucking rad, bro. It's fucking rad, dude. What it do? Just grab a fucking hoodie, man. So, this is a solo rant. Other solo rants, I kind of have a topic on my mind. Last week we went into Hybex, Sprint APM, Marauder, and Shiva Star. There's one hair sticking out right there. Ow. But I got it. Now that hurt more than normal. What if that just tugged on an artery? Think, boom. Right after my confession that I have reached actualization and I am the happiest man in the world, I just induced aneurysm. Boom. Podcast ends as the EMT comes in here like 18 hours later because I haven't been responding to calls. But so I have been I don't know, what's this solo rant going to be? For everybody that hasn't listened to a solo rant is where it's just me talking, and I'm finding there are like different types of solo rants where I have a topic I want to talk about: Air Force, space warfare, Illuminati, video games. But then there are the purist solo rants. There are the sticklers for solo rants. Like there truly is no topic. Like I'm kind of scrambling right now. I'm kind of it's like a freestyle rap. You're just off the top of your head. You can't stop talking because then there's dead air. Granted, you can edit out the dead air, but that's stupid. That's not cool. So, fuck. I mean, still scrambling for words. So yeah. I don't know. I don't know where we're going with this. What are we doing? In June, they released the new iMac, the M1 iMacs, like a week ago. Those are pretty cool, but I don't know. I don't think that's what I want. I've been using this MacBook since August 2019, and let's open up about this Mac. It is a MacBook Pro 15-inch from 2019. The processor is a 2.6 gigahertz, 6-core Intel Core i7. Memory is a 600 gigabit, 2400 millihertz DDR4. Graphics is an Intel UHD. Graphics 630, 1536 megabyte. That's what I got. And it works well. Like, I'm always trying to improve things, but I mean, this works well. It works very well. For what I need, I screen record, and right now is a one I have a 4K webcam, but I can only use 1080p, so I think I need to get an iMac if I want to do full 4K, which I do. I do want to kind of get into that realm of quality control. Little things, I'm not sure if I should maybe blot out this side table I have with the hard drives and shit. I don't really mind it. I kind of like having a table right here. I covered it in black. All the hard drives are black. It kind of blends in. Get that little spot back there, wall. I'm going to put the flag back up. I'm just kind of digging the spaceship look right now. We'll move back to the flag whenever we do. Old Gloria's waiting for me. She's faithful. 4K, I don't think I can up the audio. I mean, I'm sure there's probably like a $5,000 microphone you can get, but I mean, it's got the puff filter. I've got this thing, Focusrite Scarlett box thingy with a cloud lifter thingy and whatever that does. I've got gigabit Ethernet. I've got all these sound panels. I've got $2,500 of sound panels, and it's hung from the ceiling and all around me. I got to do a little over here. I think we've got the audio taken care of. What I would like to do is I screen record on Zoom, obviously, but the way it's set up, you can't ever get the full, because I don't want the Zoom file. The Zoom file itself it's lower quality. The audio shittier, the video shittier. I like this, but I want to be able to get full screen video, because if you look at any of the ones I upload, it's like a screen recording of the Zoom thing. So there's this dead area above and below, and it doesn't look too great. And I'm looking at it more and more, and it's starting to stick out like a sore thumb. I want it to be like a clean division of screen, half and half. And the reason I don't do the back and forth is it kind of makes, to me, that's not comfortable watching when you watch a podcast where the screen's changing between people who are talking, like just, back and forth. And I don't like that. I'd like for people to see both people the whole time. I think you got to be able to see facial reactions, expressions, reactions to body language, even to people talking, their stories kind of reflecting off of each other through nonverbal communication. I don't know how to do that, though, and I'm not sure how to do that, but I would like to make a move there. Obviously 4K, gigabit Ethernet's fire. It's perfect. I can upload it. What legitimately used to take 9, 12, 14 hours. Now it takes a maximum of I think yesterday was a long one, and that was like an hour and 3 minutes to upload. Normally they take a minimum of 4 hours, average of 8. And some of the longer ones that I'll do with Roger, sometimes those take 19 hours to upload. I haven't had a single episode take more than 90 minutes to upload, so that's awesome. Shout out internet. I've got 100 terabytes right there. I've got 30 in NORAD. I've got 30 more in the DUCC, the interior of NORAD, which is still a rabbit hole. That one's the one with all the EMP shielding. It's got 100. No, it's 24. No, because it's minus that one. It's 5 times 4 is 20. And there's 22, 30, 52. 152 terabytes in total. So there's 3 separate banks of 6 copies each. So 6 copies of the podcast up here, 6 in the fireproof, 6 in the firewater EMP proof. 6. But kidding. Love you, God. Shout out, big man. Yeah. It's I'm happy with it. I'm trying to push I talked about it with Roger the other day, how I can get lulled into this into a comfortable habit of just having guests on again that I've already had. Those are very easy. They're easy to set up. They're not formal. It's, it's a quick, what's up, man? You want to do a podcast? Yeah, sure. Thursday, 1, 2 p.m. Got it. Good. You can clear out, you can add 10 days of scheduling like that. And that's great and all. But one, the conversations don't get as rich. I have Roger and Dale on every week, and we managed to keep the marriage young. But other than those, Dale's a limitless well of stories. He is a living James Bond, and Roger and I just kind of click. We can just kind of bounce shit off of each other. I think we're both, it just sounds like a circle jerk. I think we're both open-minded, although Roger's very liberal and I'm very conservative. I think we're both open-minded, and we at least enjoy, at the very least, the mental exercise of playing the game of tolerance and subtle chess with ideas. But with it's just all love at the core of it. It's just all love. Roger's a great guy. I fucking love him. Shout out Raj. But I'm definitely trying to push the boundaries more with guests. I have found an existing law that is there. So there are several laws. One I call Tommy's Law, and it is just because I'm a douchebag, I don't know what else to call it. The harder it is to find an email, the easier it is to get them on, and vice versa. The easier it is to find their email address, the harder it is to get them on the podcast. Case in point, you could go to, I'm sure you go to I think it's WSB, Washington Speakers Bureau. You, the listener right now, could within the next 60 seconds send a request that would get forwarded to the office of former President Barack Obama, George W. Bush, Donald J. Trump, William Clinton, Jimmy Carter, I guess. You can do that. General James Mattis, Leon Panetta, Robert Gates, Henry Kissinger, and I know this because I've tried with all of these people, and it's failed. Vladimir Putin never got back to me. Poot! Shout out. But, yeah. It's difficult to... I tried to get Guy Buford. He was... I believe he was the first black astronaut, and if he wasn't the first black astronaut, he was the first black astronaut to also double as a embedded NRO officer on a space shuttle, which is badass, but I can't get a hold of him. But those are all easy emails to get. They're easy. I tried, who did I try? Yeah, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, for whatever fucking... I don't even watch baseball. I barely watch anything, let alone baseball. And on the treadmill, I don't know why, but I sent an email to Barry Bonds, because he did break the home run record on my birthday, August 7th. And I don't know why I sent an email to him. But you know what? Found his email within like 20 seconds. Barry Bonds, contact information, go to his website. Pro tip, you just go to their website, you find contact info, or FAQs, or contact us, or whatever. If you can find multiple different departments, maybe you'd have PR, you'd have customer service, you'd have investment, you'd have check the status of your order, complaints. What you can do is you can find all of these different areas, which are often have different secretaries. And then what you can do is you can copy and paste a message to the individual you like to speak for, and you can hit them all. And it's not so much that you throw them all in hopes that one will trickle through. I don't think that's how it works, although it might. I mean, ultimately it doesn't matter. It's the same effect. You put in 5 and sometimes you can get 1 back. I don't think it's that you're throwing 5 and you hope 1 lands so much as you get 5, and this is all speculation, because clearly I'm not at these fucking companies. I don't know. What I think happens is maybe they each get forwarded, because it's kind of like, oh, this isn't for my department. They kind of each get forwarded to the higher ups. And what I try to do is I try to go in the repetition. So I'm sure that you get all emails all the time where it's like spam, not interested. My logic is like, if someone higher up in the chain gets 4 emails from 4 different departments that are like, hey Bob, my name's Tommy Kerrigan, I'd love to have you on my... I hope it kind of filters through. And the reason is that I know it's worked that way before. I don't want to say with who, because I don't want other people to end up going and harassing them. But with like authors, with people from different industries, that's how I've gotten them. Actually, one of the more prominent guests I've had is from that. But the harder it is to find their email, the easier it is to get them on. It's because if you can get correspondence with them directly, sometimes you can't even find their email, but like their secretary will forward it to them, and then you'll get an email from like an account, and it'll be like, hey, I think you're interested in me, and that's got them. Sometimes they politely say no. I can only imagine sometimes they look at the podcast and then say no, which is fine. I mean, you're free to not come on the podcast if you don't want. It's, I mean, you're breaking my heart and you're destroying my dreams and, you know, all that, but you don't have to come on. Which has is my tooth chipped? Huh. What is that? I don't think it is. Is my fucking tooth chipped? Sorry for this interruption, everybody. It feels like it's... my God. I think it's chipped. Huh. I don't know how in the world I would have done that. kind of a little rough. Let's try to keep doing the podcast without focusing on that. It's got that weird kind of exposed feeling. Not that it hurts, not that it has nerves. Well, that was a minute of interesting sidelining. But now I gotta really focus on not focusing on it. So, I've been trying to reach out to more guests now. Forcing myself to. And it's not forcing that I don't want to have them on or something. I do want to have them on. That's why I'm fucking reaching out to them. But I mean, I love the feeling of working out. After working out, I love that feeling of sweaty and you're up and you're kind of oxygenated. I love the feeling after a cold shower. I love the feeling after a meditation. None of these are things I really like doing, though. I don't like going out and trying to find a guest. But I do thoroughly enjoy getting someone on. I do like that little dopamine hit of getting a response of, great to hear from you. Thank you for the kind words. Sure, I'd love to do it. Or why don't you tell me more about yourself? Or, or some of them say, and this has worked before, where they'll be like, why don't you email me in 6 months? And so I just put it in my calendar right then and there. I'll go and look in 6 months from that day. And I'll email them 6 months to the day. A lot of them will say yes after that. Just, I think, more out of like you did it. Or they're probably like, oh, this guy's determined and I don't need him showing up to my house dressed in black like a psychopath. Hey, you said you were going to do my podcast. Dear Stan, I haven't heard from you. It's your man, this is Stan. Please don't call me wondering why you didn't come on my podcast. I don't want to get a gun and have to go blast. Ba 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 ba. And your picture on my wall. Why didn't you subscribe and press share to all? Dear Slim, I got your fucking hoodie. You said it was the best merch in the game. I don't mind being lied to, but dog, this is lame. You said these pharaohs and these capita snowboard. That's why I'm doing podcasting and not 8 Mile raps. But yeah, so I've been reaching out to different guests. Another law I have found is, and I hate that it's true, you cannot jinx it. If you think you have a guest coming on, you can't say that they're coming on because it won't work. I found that again and again and again. It doesn't matter how high profile they are. And I learned that in the first 100 episodes. I learned to stop saying, I got this person, because then they never show up. And it's not that they saw it and then they're like, well, I'm not going to come on now. There's just some law that they don't come on. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it in any non-metaphysical terms. But the first time I finally learned to obey the law was episode 95 with Michael J. Durant from 160th SOAR, the Black Hawk Down pilot. I got a confirmation from him, and I kept it to myself for 2 weeks. And I did the episode, still without telling anyone, and I finished recording, and I walked downstairs, and I was wearing a polo, and my mom's like, you look nice, who'd you just have on? And I was like, Mike Durant. And my dad was like, what? And I was like, yeah. And then we drank some Henny. That's not true. We didn't do that. It was in the morning. But I learned to shut my mouth again with Brigadier General Robert Spalding. Yeah, I've learned to just stay quiet. And because I've had other guests ready to come on that were going to come on. They said yes. We throwed some tentative dates around. And then I get all cocky. I'll tell my investor. I will tell my parents. I'll tell kind of those closest to the podcast. And the fucking muse sees it. The muse sees it. And she's like, nah, bitch. Like Tinkerbell. And she's just like, shut up, classy. Oh, hell no. Oh, I'm sorry, Classy. I didn't mean to hit you. Oh, hell no. I'm gonna break your dick off, you little retard. Classy, now, please. To the Classy Mobile. Shut up, Classy. What the fuck? I'm sorry, Classy. I'm gonna break your dick off. You Down syndrome retard. God, I love South Park. I have tried to get Trey Parker and Matt Stone on. No response. But, is it me or is this camera moving more? Is it shifting more? Tooth is still there. I have no idea. 30:41, about a minute and a half. So it is chipped. There's a little piece missing. I don't drink. Of course, I don't drink it. Well, because I got pissed drunk at our party, Purple Haze, in April 2010, at Pi Kappa Phi Beta Tau chapter, Valdosta State. They're kicked off campus now. I think, I don't know what reasons. But I passed out while standing, peeing on the side of the house, and I face planted on the brick wall. You can kind of see it. You can kind of see a little, but this is different. There's just like a little, tiny, just kind of like divot taken out of the front, not even the bottom line. And I don't know what, I did bite into a Hot Pocket last night, and I did feel something crunch, but it didn't feel like my tooth. It felt like, sometimes it'd be like maybe like a soup or something that you don't expect. There might be like a black pepper, and you hit something solid, or like a piece of a bone from like chicken. I kept feeling that last night as I was biting down. I was like, what the fuck is that? And I finally got it, and I thought it was just a piece of the Hot Pocket, and I threw it. But that couldn't have been it, because that was tiny, but this is like super tiny. Man, this is just a riveting podcast. If this isn't the content you subscribe for, I don't know what is. I do need to finish the paneling over there, because there's this whole blank spot of where my voice is probably traveling, and I should probably put some up there. I don't want to, because that was so difficult to put up the first time, but I probably should if I really want to. Yeah, I know. I need to get that door. I need to do 3 down there. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud. Yeah, I know. I don't want to, though. I don't want to do it. But it's because I don't always talk directly into it like this. I like to kind of lean back, and there's this whole exposed wall, and there's really no point in doing this wall, and the ceiling if you're not going to do the fourth, right? It's like the explosive lensing on the on Trinity test, right? Sure, you can have a bunch of explosives go off, and maybe you get like a cool bang. But the difference between synchronized explosions, it's like 60 or 125 capacitors, or capacitor discharges into shaped charges, which is crazy. One of the guys that made the designs for the original bomb, the Gadget, they actually said he was more of a sculptor. He was sort of making these like artistic explosive pieces, which is crazy that you bring in. There is a weird intersection of artists with nuclear war. I don't know who it was, but the guy who made the designs for the explosive charges around Trinity, the guy involved in one of the guys involved in making Ivy Mike. Was that Ivy Mike? Yeah, Ivy Mike, the first H-bomb. They put a gold leafing inside of it as a reflector. And they got a sign painter who came in and actually did it. And he was a compartmentalized special access program, sworn to secrecy at risk of 50 years of hard labor. But he came on, they had this artist come in and make the inside of it a smooth gold surface. No bubbles, no wrinkles, no nothing. They said it was perfect. a guy that they brought in to help not dig out, but once they got to the center of Cheyenne Mountain and they realized that the core was rotten, which I never knew was a thing. I didn't know rock could be rotten, but apparently it had the soul of the Grinch, and they went in and they found that they had to put up all these like weird kind of like pilings into the walls and shit, and with all these weird nets. But they brought in a guy named Dr. Livingston, not Dr. Livingston, I presume. This is more of like a Dr. Strangelove, Dr. Livingston, but he was he said he was halfway between a sculptor and like a blaster. I don't know what the correct term is. Like a quarry miner. And he came in, and it was much more, he did all these precise kind of, ironically enough, kind of in an ironic contradictory foreshadowing manner. He came in and showed that it was precision, not overall force, that was needed, while building NORAD, which itself was protecting against overall force, as opposed to the precision laser-guided weapons that they'd use 50 years later. It's kind of a weird, like what Terrence McKenna would call psychedelic temporal backwash, where in the days leading up to a big psychedelic trip, you'll actually start to have kind of like mini revelations like you would on psychedelics. And it's like the psychedelic experience is so strong. I think he explained it like if you looked at it on a calendar and it was like Friday is a day you have a big trip or something, it's almost like it kind of like leaks backwards into like Thursday and Wednesday because the trip is so powerful, which is, I mean, his whole thing, time wave zero, the I Ching. But yeah, I don't know where the fuck we're going with this. Shut up, Mimsy. Getting guests. I do like getting author guests. I do. But I fear, and I'm having this realization right now, I fear that maybe those are just another form of the contentness. And why does this camera keep focusing in and out? I mean, come on, guys. I mean, this is freaking wacko. It's these cameras. These cameras, they just never focus. You know, when I was a child, my cameras always focused. Father would always say, focus or you're a locust. And I always remembered that. Kevin! Why is my... David, why is my mother going to Atlanta? Checkmate. Life finds a way. That was like 3 different movies. You know, this podcast, you know, I've often said it doubles as free promotion for my merch. It actually triples as therapy, and it actually quadruples as just a solid case for my eventual insanity plea deal decades down the road. Yeah, so finding new guests. I do like authors though, because I like getting a guest with an audiobook. I think maybe that is perhaps it is a mirroring of what I loved about college courses. I always hated the literature, even though I've always been told I'm good at writing. I can write good. I loved physics, organic chemistry, molecular biology, because there was no wiggle room. It's not that this is kind of what Shakespeare meant, and it's up for interpretation. An object in a defined atmosphere on a ballistic trajectory will hit this point. It's what it is. This answer in calculus will be this. Organic chemistry, this will happen when this triple bond is attacked by an oxidative SN2 reaction plus heat plus platinum. Like that, this is what will happen. This is what will happen if you were to inhibit the releasing of adrenocorticoids. There's a certain cold science to it that is so satisfying, because the limiting reagent in this reaction of you understanding material is your own willingness to put in the time to learn it. If you want to put in 12 hours a day, you can perfect score an OChem test. The science is there. It's no one's, the sunshine is there. If you don't get any, that's on you. You didn't go outside. Yeah, I get it. You have a fucking job. Shut up. There is something, and even with, even studying for the MCAT, I started studying for the MCAT in October 2012, and I took it on May 30th, 2013. I'd say the first 3 to 4 months was just amassing a study guide. So for like OChem, let's say you had a month between each test, the first week would be creating a study guide. I'd make PowerPoint flashcards where it'd be a bunch of blank equations, and you press the button and they all appear, and memorize them all, obviously. That would take 7 days to go through all the chapters. And you were never really absorbing it, but you could tell, this is what I need to know, this is what I need to know, blah, 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 blah. And then you'd spend the next 3 weeks going through it, and then that itself was kind of a hockey stick curve of your understanding and accuracy in practice tests. The MCAT was just that extrapolated. Took 3 to 4 months to make well, that's not really extrapolated. That's half. Maybe it was less. It was 9 months of study, 9 months total of prep, about 3 months of making a study guide. Pretty close. And then, same thing, hockey stick understanding. With a guest who has an audiobook, I can just listen to it again and again and again and just really soak up the meta. What are the big pictures here that aren't necessarily explicitly written? And it's comfortable. I have a task. I have a book. Listen to the book. Did you finish the book? Start the book again. Go through it, and you can speed it up the more times you listen through it, because maybe you don't need to hear every syllable and every preposition. Shit like that, like sentence structure, that. I don't, fuck that. I don't give a shit, because that's subjective. It's, well, no, technically that's a preposition and this is an adverb. Well, we made up language. We can just by default just say no, that's not. I can just say that I'm no longer a noun. I can just say Tommy's verb, but just fuck you, because it's made up. It's not real. It's not a gravitational constant. It's not dropping something down. It's not difference in air. It's not light bouncing off. It's not a percentage of probable outcomes with organic chemistry, or a mixture of chirality and stereoscopically whatever fucking. The point is you can listen to a book again and again, and you can understand it. You can get what you need out of it. And there is comfort in that. I feel a little weird when I don't have a guest coming up with a book. I feel a little naked. Because as soon as I wake up, I turn on my audiobook. I wake up, turn on my audiobook. I get dressed for the gym. I make my bed. I grab my keys, water bottle, AirPods, and I walk to the gym. Listening to it the whole time, listen to it while I'm on the treadmill. And a new thing I've started in the last 2 weeks is I used to be able to listen to it just on the treadmill, but once I was lifting weights, I'd have to listen to music. Now I listen to it while I'm working out as well. And I like it. I listen to it when I walk back. I listen to it when I take my shower. I listen to it when I have breakfast. Turn it off for meditation. And then I do a podcast, and I listen to it after the podcast while I put out workout clothes for tomorrow, put out clean clothes for tomorrow, put out meds for tomorrow, laundry, dishes if I have any. Obviously edit the podcast, process the podcast, compress it, upload it, offload it onto hard drives, play some video games, and then the last 3 hours of the night, I'll turn off the audiobook and I'll turn up the audio on the video games and just kind of get lost in stupid explosions. Or recently I've been listening to the Tim Dillon archives on Patreon with Ray Kump. It's Ray Kump. Raymond, listen to me. Ace Combat 7 is a great game. The F-22 Raptor is unparalleled in its air-to-air capabilities. I mean, listen, it's beyond anything you understand. But I like having that on because I'm always doing something in the background. I'm not wasting time, I like getting something out of it. And even with audiobooks, you can find contentness. There's a handful of books that to me are like my friends. I've listened to them so many times that I've grown close to them. When I put them on, they remind me of different times in my life over the last couple years. Metamorphosis of Prime Intellect isn't an audiobook, Roger, but it will be eventually. Raven Rock by Garrett Graff. I mean, that book is just, it's a comfortable book. It's like putting your iPod on shuffle. Ooh, that's a little, getting risky there versus a solid playlist that it's coming, right? You can't be searching for the right song while you're working out. You got to keep the momentum going. You got to have a preset playlist, right? Got to have a game plan. A book you've listened to before, you can grow familiar with it. You grow content, and you grow comfortable with it. Raven Rock by Garrett Graff. Blitzed by Norman Ohler. Some new ones in my sort of comfort zone are Base Nation by David Vine and The Generals Have No Clothes by William Arkin. But it takes a while for them to kind of get into my inner circle of trust. But my inner circle of trust is Raven Rock by Garrett Graff, Blitzed by Norman Ohler, Operation Paperclip and Area 51, 2 separate books by Annie Jacobson. Less so DARPA, Phenomena, and Surprise Kill Vanish. And her newest book, First Platoon, very good. Operation Paperclip and Area 51, those are some close books to my heart. They have a special spot. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, whatever how the fuck you say it, that one's close. Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer, that one's close. I haven't listened to that one as much lately. There's a 10-minute part document. Well, it's just chopped up into 5 pieces because of commercial breaks, about Project Pluto. That one's close to me. The second Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, Eddie Bravo episode. I've grown familiar with that one. That one's kind of my friend. What are some other? There was this discussion by Mike Barra, B-A-R-A, about aliens and Operation High Jump and the Vril Society and Secret Space Program. But it got taken off YouTube. I used to love watching that one. But that one was my friend for like 2 years. A classic is Walter Bosley, both of his appearances on Greg Carlwood's The Higher Side Chats. Walter Bosley about NIMSA and YMZA, all about airships in the 1800s and time travel. It kind of gets into the Trump lore, about like time travel. That one's comfortable. That one's a friend. Trying to think of some others. Those are books that they're my friends. I'm close to them. They don't surprise me. I know what they're bringing. They're very consistent. But so even today, so this is a breaking of Tommy's Law. I can tell you that I'm having Norman Ohler back on, the author of Blitzed and the author of The Bohemians. But I've already had him on, so there's no room to be jinxed. If it doesn't come back on, that'd be like Dale not coming back on. I'd be like, oh, something came up. I am having him back on, I think next Friday. Author of Blitzed. Oh, Ghost by Jefferson Morley. It's a close guy. It's right up there in my heart. Presidents and UFOs by Larry Holcomb. Unacknowledged by Stephen Greer. Those are some ones that are all right up in there. I love them. How to Stop Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. That one's close. But some Ram Dass lectures. You don't give a fuck. Why am I rattling off about this? Those ones are close to me. But Norman Ohler's coming back on, so I re-listened to Blitzed. And man, it's great. It's great. I love listening to it. And I listened to it over the last 2 days again. It's just, I fucking love it. But you have to separate. Is it that you love it? Or is it that you're interested and you're learning more from it? Or is it that you're comfortable with it? I've got a splitting headache. Probably my tooth chipped. Probably my chipped tooth. My chipped tooth. My chippity tooth. Chippity tooth tits. Is the air conditioner on? Fuck yeah, it is. Hell yeah, life is good. Norman Ohler, blitzed. Studying for the MCAT, yeah. Setting up the study guide. I memorized like 400 physics equations, and I did 10 a day. I memorized 10. Once I could do 10 upside down and backwards, the next day I would do 10 more. And once I got those 10 upside down and backwards, I would then repeat the 10 from the day before. And I would go through and I could write 20, 30, 40. And I did this for, it was 40 or 60 days. It came out to something, I honestly think it was something more than 4. I don't think it was more than 600 though. Somewhere in the 500 equations that I memorized. And it got to a point where, I could rattle off like 10 just very quickly. Just PV equals nRT, right? Just be the simple force is mass divided by, right? Force is mass times acceleration. So clearly, I can memorize all these equations. 1 + 1's 2. I mean, I was a smart guy. But they get more complex and all the weird aerodynamics and then water principles and buoyancy and elastic and non-elastic collisions. And I memorized all of those, and those were comfortable. Because by the end of the memorization, it'd take me about 90 minutes to go through all of them. And that's how I'd start my study days. And I could see towards the end of my study time for the MCAT that I wasn't exactly learning new information or taking practice tests. I loved just going over this stuff I already knew. Why not? You already know it. It's like speedrunning a video game versus playing a new one. You already know what to do. And, yeah. And finally, I started to push myself more. Like, no, you got to do it's like working out. If it's not hurting, there's no pain, no gain. It's not the way to look at it. That's you're predisposing yourself to failure. Fuck off. That's what it is. When it hurts, you're building muscle. If it didn't hurt, your body would be fine with it. Your body's not fine with it. Why? Because you're expending calories and you're breaking down myosin. That's what it is. Fuck off. So studying, I got around like March, April 2013, I realized, I was like, you gotta start doing more practice tests. It's not about memorization. You gotta see if you actually understand it, not just regurgitate. And I got 35 on the MCAT, which I don't know what the scoring is now. It's all weird. But it used to be out of 45. 45 is perfect score. I think like one person would get a 45 every couple of years. One of whom is the father of one of my closest friends, ironically enough. It truly is that rare. Like, I don't think someone gets it every year. 35 is in the 95.6 percentile, which is what I had. I think I could have got higher if I had pushed more towards practice tests, and you can tell I still dwell on this. It's been 8 years, and I'm still like, let's go over this, right? It's like my dad with Tom Brady. He should have 9. He shouldn't have lost those 2 to the Giants. Those don't count. I'm like, well, Dad, he didn't win them. You can't say those don't count. He didn't win them, but they were so close. He should have had them. Well, by that logic, old man, he should have lost 5 because he also won 5 very close. You can see where me and he might have butt heads. I love you, old man. But, so I find that, so this morning, right, I finished Blitzed, and I started it again, and I loved it. I love the narrator. The narrator's got a super deep voice. Vitamolten bars. Eucadol. But, cocainum hydrochloricum. but I wasn't pushing the envelope. So I started a new book, and I didn't want to. I never want to start new books because I compare them to other. It's when I hear a new song, I'm like, well, this isn't the remix to Ignition, hot and fresh out the kitchen. Pfft. And it's, well, no, it's a different song. And then that becomes a song you like. Like when I discovered the video game Hitman, I was like, this isn't Just Cause. There's no grapple. No, there's not. But it's its own game. Enjoy it, you dipshit. And so I did. Now, with new books, I never want to start a new book. Oh, another comfortable book. Sorry to go back. Actually, I'm not sorry. This is my podcast. Eat a Dick. Is Dark Sun by Richard Rhodes and Shadow Factory, the ultra secret post 9/11 NSA. Yeah, by James Bamford. That's another one close to my heart. Command and Control by Eric Schlosser. That's another one. Ooh, that one's good. That one's really good. Now, so I have to push the boundaries of what I'm comfortable doing. And that's where growth lies. Growth lies in the pain, right? So, I mean, it's anyone you can cultivate a field, a nice geometric, evenly spaced field. You get in the tractor and do it. I've never picked anything but my nose in my life. Why the fuck? And I'm like, when you're out there on a tractor getting a good old harvest and your son's growing up so fast, it's like I've never I microwave my food. What the fuck am I talking about? When you're harvesting, I have no idea this whole podcast, not this episode. I mean, this platform, this cybernetic entity of Tommy's pod, it's all just bullshit. It's all horse shit. Don't take any of this worth anything, but do buy the merch. But when you are farming, I would imagine it's probably did my screen just die? No, it just went to sleep. Hey, MacBook. No, we're doing a show. Don't fucking get an attitude with me. You think I won't? I'll send you up to Steve. It's a joke about Steve Jobs. He's dead. I would imagine that you probably enjoy farming in a set field, right? And it's probably spaced evenly. You just kind of got to ride on and give you a ride on a big green tractor. God, Valdosta State University. Jesus Christ. But what probably isn't fun is having to plant new lines, right? It's pushing the boundaries, right? Like this hoodie is a good example. I took an existing design and I put something else over it and I made kind of a twist on it. Very cool, Remix to Ignition's great. The remix to Ignition by Phoebe Ryan is even better, right? It's a take on it. Justice Remix by MGMT of Electric Eel. Remixes are great. There's a place for remixes. My throat's sore. Probably from all the hobos I'm sucking off. But but you can only eventually make so many remixes of a design before you have to embark on something new. And there is a third remix to this hoodie called Enlightenment. This one's called Breakthrough because this is what I kind of felt like when I was meditating and I would feel like I was pushing through the veil. It feels like your eye is just glowing. And then Enlightenment is a third version of this hoodie where it's just like the whole thing is just kind of like it's like layered over itself but offset by like a half an inch. And when I would get into that, so the original one, it just kind of, I called it gaudy, but to me it was just kind of like it kind of looked like how I felt when I'd get into a good meditation. This is level 2 meditation where it feels like you're reaching the center and it's like God is with me, everything's going to be okay, love will win in the end. Love always has won. Love has never been losing. The third hoodie is when you'd really get into it, your eyes would start to like flutter because you almost, it's like kind of like walking away from it's like getting a controller on a video game and like leaning the controller on a pillow so the plane keeps flying and run to the bathroom and come back. The third one is kind of like when I'd reach these really deep levels of meditation, which I haven't experienced this since like 2012. It's a fucking muse, dude. It eludes you. I thought the microphone was off. It's like, God damn it. It'd feel like you were kind of walking away, like putting it on autopilot. When you get really deep into meditation, you didn't even have to think about keeping your eyes closed or meditating or sitting up straight. It's almost like you just kind of like hit autopilot and then like walked away from your body. It's the weirdest fucking thing in the world. But your eye would just, there'd be a brief moment in between like autopilot and manual where you were kind of like putting your like eyelids away. You're kind of like putting them down. You're like, all right, stay. Where they kind of like shimmer wildly. And then they'd stay closed as you like walked away from them. And that's what the third hoodie is. Point is you can always it's comfortable to take different takes on something you've already done well. But another example, Grand Theft Auto, right? Grand Theft Auto 5, great game. Remastered it for the Xbox One. Put in first person. They redid a lot of the graphics, made it they added things like the tracers for the Buzzard attack chopper, the first person view for all the cars. I mean, really really like the P996 laser, right? You get the hood. But now they're remaking it again for Xbox Series X. And now it's like, oh, all right, dude, all right. It's a one-trick pony. And it's like, okay, you got to make a new game now. And so I am pushing the boundaries to what I would like to do. I have had on guests twice for the same book. I've only done that once, and that was with Jefferson Morley on The Ghost. And I pointed out early, I'm like, why am I double dipping? I am double dipping again next Friday with Norman Ohler to talk about Blitzed again. That's a middle ground, right? These individuals aren't people that I'm like good friends with. Not that I wouldn't like to be, not that I don't think they're cool guys, but I mean, like, we don't text and send memes to each other, but I have talked to them before. So having them back on, there's another level above that where it's still less of a repetition, but still kind of is. When you find an author and, hey, I'd love to have you back. Like I had on Ben Westhoff for Fentanyl Inc., but then we came back and we did Original Gangstas. Jefferson Morley for Ghost, and then we came back and did Our Man in Mexico. Norman Ohler, Blitzed, The Bohemians. Mike Vecchione, Friends of the Family, Crooked Brooklyn, Hand of the Killer, and Murder on the Bridge. They have different, so like I am having on Will Arkin again, the author of Generals Have No Clothes. We're going to go over his book Unmanned about surveillance. I'd love to have David Vine back on to go over his new book, The United States of War. And those are good new books, but you're still not pushing the boundaries. So I've been emailing a lot of guests the last couple days, and even one of the guys I've had on this podcast, Brandon, he's my accountability buddy, like Butters and Cartman. No, Cartman, we gotta go. No, Butters. I have to send him every day a screenshot of a guest I emailed, or I owe him a free hoodie. And these are $60 hoodies. So we're only 3 days in, but I think I can maintain it. So I'm trying to push the boundaries more with guests I haven't had on. You gotta find them. You gotta find their Twitter. Do they have an Instagram? Where can you kind of wiggle in there? But yeah. So, but then even that, right? So I'm defining that as pushing the boundaries, right? Finding a new author, for a new book that I have never talked to before and a book I have not read before. Devil's advocate, is that really pushing the boundaries, or is that not an extrapolation of what I still find comfort in? A book to listen to, a task to complete, a set of details to memorize and learn and find the meta, and you have the guest or you have the author on. To me, that's another level of familiarization. And am I going to pigeonhole myself into a guy that just has on Audible authors? So I've been reaching out to other guests who haven't written books. Another cop-out is not a cop-out, because you can find, actually I found a lot of my cool guests through networking. I found Bruce Sackman through a Reddit AMA thread. He was guest number 18. Bruce put me in touch with Vecchione. Vecchione put me in touch with, I believe, Joaquin Garcia, who put me in touch with Bill Albrot, who put me in touch with Ken Moffat, who put me in touch with Dean Fate. JP Veriano put me in touch with Nick Phelps, who put me in touch with Tyler Mortensen, who put me in touch with Dan Libby, who put me in touch with David Libby, who put me in touch with Greg Henneman, who all of these led up to me getting Brigadier General Robert Spalding. So it is important to kind of degrees of separation. But even that's a cop-out. You're still slithering around on these pre-beaten paths. You got to go out with the chainsaw and just make a new path. You got to walk all over it, and the stumps aren't even, and you get caught on roots, and you're cutting your feet and chipping your tooth. But that's how you plow the new path, right? I just had a fucking meta realization. That's what this podcast is. It was comfortable to get into medical school because although difficult, it was a set path, a set series of tasks I just had to complete better than a percentage of other people. Same with pharmacy school. Graphic design, had to get kind of wackier designs. But even that, I still didn't do the alchemy of where does it turn into a dollar that goes into your bank account with a routing number, and it's a US dollar backed by FDIC, and you can invest it, and you can go buy water and gasoline with it. Where does it turn from the immaterial, the ethereal, pre-transubstantiated idea to where can you fill out? I don't need to hold my bottle in front of there. I don't need people taking my prescription. Where do you get a prescription? When can you buy a charger? When can you get a hard drive? When can you buy a microphone? When can you get sound panels? When can you get an apartment where you can put your shit and it is your kingdom? When can you go out on Saturday nights and buy Ben & Jerry's because that's your cheat day, you fat fuck? And that was making the podcast, and that was fucking uncomfortable. That was really uncomfortable. But I pushed it. It was uncomfortable finding an investor. I was terrified. And at first I didn't want to do it because I was like, no, I want 100% of it. But then I realized 100% of $0 is zero. 51% of, gotcha, I'm not telling you how much I make. 51% of something it's enough to live on. It's not special, but it'll do, pig. It'll do. I went on Dawn the Plebs show 2 nights ago. That's not my podcast. It's very weird to do someone else's show. But I felt that was good. It was a good exercise to be on someone else's show. When you go to the gym and you're like, I've never used that machine before. Why does this camera keep unfocusing? Camera, talk to me, dude. Don't talk to me, because that would be early onset schizophrenia. Continually pushing the boundaries of what is comfortable. Every time I've pushed the boundaries, it's always resulted in something great. When I finally nutted up and decided to do psychedelic mushrooms, which I do not recommend if you are You know what I don't recommend? I don't not recommend. They're for you to decide. I'm not a doctor. Disregard that. Do whatever the fuck you want. You're an adult. You can figure it out. When I finally did them, it opened up a whole new portal into a new area of life. That was the day I decided I didn't want to go to medical school. And that was the day I decided that I wanted to make money doing what I like. I didn't know what it was, but I was sitting there in the field with my buddy, the golden fields, pupils the size of dinner plates, just watching the trees breathe and watching the sun just wash the earth in a bubble bath of sunlight and warmth in crisp December Georgia air. It's just, I look at it and the entire memory is just, it just glitters like this hoodie, which is available for $60. It's machine washable. Asking out a girl, deciding I didn't want to go to medical school, getting in a pharmacy school, and then deciding not to do that because I still wasn't happy. Graphic design school, but realizing that's still not where my heart was. Every time I push what I'm comfortable with, I get something good out of it. I've never been more intimidated for an episode than with Brigadier General Robert Spaulding, episode 161. That man stared through my soul. That man was probably looking at the drywall beneath the paint behind the flag behind my head. But I got him to smile, and it was good. Episode 95 with Mike Durant, I was kind of freaking out as well. But pushing what I'm comfortable with, pushing the boundaries of my comfort zone is what I do believe yields reward. Now, sometimes you just can't get I'm sure I would be shitting my pants if I talked to Barack Obama. But I can't get him on the podcast. I've tried. What's another lesson I've learned? Another lesson I've learned is there's no big guest that, quote, makes it. I remember when I had on Mike Durant episode 95 and we were sitting back in my chair and I was like, I made it. I'm in the big leagues now. I'm going to upload this video, and without any explanation in my mind of how it was going to happen, I'm going to get 1 million subscribers, start making money, get a Lambo. That was my level of delusion. That's not actually what I thought, but I thought I was going to explode. And it didn't happen. I thought I was going to episode 50 with Dale Comstock. Didn't happen. Thought I was going to episode 13. Didn't happen. Not 18, nor 20. There were a lot of episodes where I thought that was it. 216, Charlie Duke. 211, Robert Manning, head of JPL. But there's no episode that just makes it. You just kind of have to keep chipping away at it. And it's only in the rearview mirror that you can look at how far you've traveled. There's no one footstep when you're climbing up and again, I've done this maybe twice in my life, but I remember hiking up it's probably like a 3,000 foot, what would you call it, a hill? Not a mountain. It's something, in New Hampshire with my cousin, my younger brother, and my girlfriend at the time. This was in 2014. And it was a Goose Eye up in New Hampshire, Cohasset County. There was no moment where you see that, there is a moment where you break through the trees and then the tree line stops because that's just where it stops growing because I guess oxygen or cold or whatever. But other than that, there's no point where you are... God, my mouth is so dry. Jesus Christ. There's no point where you're walking up the mountain and all of a sudden you're like, well, again, that's not a great analogy because there's the tree line. Okay, well, maybe it's not that it's not a good analogy. Maybe it's that I haven't fully fleshed out this analogy. So let's do this. When you're walking up, let's say without the tree line, when you're walking up, there's no point where you feel like, oh, we're up high now. You just kind of look back, right? It's like, if you ever been up on a mountain or a significantly high point, it's very weird because, like, you're up high, but you don't kind of get that vertigo feeling like when you're in a skyscraper where it's like this might all come down, or you're in a plane where it's like there's nothing beneath me. Mountains are a very peculiar thing because you're up there, and mountains are fascinating, actually. It's just land that went up. But it's very odd because you're up there, but it's not like a skyscraper. It's like, oh, this is safe. It has tuned mass dampering. It's fireproof. Don't worry, you can't jump through the windows. But it's like, if you wanted to, you could die. Like, if your purpose was to die from the skyscraper, you could. Maybe I need to get like a shelf, and I could put some acoustic paneling in it right here. That might be the move. That's not a bad idea, actually. Get some metal shelving. Purpose. Back to the mountain. Is this weird? Because if you go up on a mountain, you can run around, and like, granted there's cliffs and shit, but that's a big granite. A big granite. Well, see what I did there? Granite, New Hampshire. But you're like running around, and you're still just kind of up there, though, right? But when you're walking up, there's no moment where it feels like you've broken through. You just kind of realize at some point that you're there, right? Early on in college, you'd see the juniors and the seniors, the pre-med guys in the big classes, and you'd be like, man, those guys know how to handle a workload. And at least that's how my fucking faggoty mind looked at it. As I just looked at them, I'm like, they're the pros. You fucking MacBook screen, don't you dare die on me again. That's strike two, bucko, buddy. Yeah, I do need more shielding. Got the whole open spot where audio is seeping out. Maybe if I turn this way more. Motherfucker. Where you're I was like, man, I can't wait till I'm up in that kind of, it's unfocusing again. What the fuck is wrong with this camera? I always felt like there would be a point where I would be in the big leagues, where all of a sudden I would be like, oh man, that's a guy that's good at studying. And there isn't. You just kind of dawns on you one day that maybe friends you have from like an elective course who are also pre-med, but they're freshmen, they come up to you and they're like, hey man, how'd you study for this? And you're like, oh, do this, that, the other thing. And you just kind of realize one day that, like, oh, you are that, right? Like, I imagine there's probably a point in fatherhood where one day you realize you are the wise adult. And the real trick is to hide your internal terror and use the facade of fearlessness, much like a good general puts on a face of not being afraid, so his men who are afraid can lean on him, right? Or her, whatever the fuck you want to talk about. Her story. It's not his story, it's her story. Fuck off. So there's no, I was thinking about this, like, because it happens so slowly, you still don't kind of know when you quote unquote make it. You know, at any given point I can look back at podcasts and be like, man, I've come so far since then. But it doesn't, there's no moment where it felt like I all of a sudden made the leap. It's like a year ago. So what's today? It's today, May 6th. What podcast did we do a year ago today? Let's go in and look at that. May 6th. So we'll go to May 6th of last year. May 6th of last year was episode. May 6th of last year, we were at 238 subscribers with a total of 23,155 views. It was episode 93. So 2 episodes before Mike Durant. So let's go see just what episode that was. Let us go see this fucking phone. Okay. So 2 episodes before Mickey D. Mike Durant. My buddy Marcus Cardona. And it was an early episode with Dale. I did an episode with a guy named Cody, episode 94. He was a dude who operated a tractor at a construction site. I thought it would be interesting. He FaceTimed me while driving. The entire time I was terrified he was going to crash. In episode 91, Scott Schmidt, a guy who welds suppressors for guns. Okay, so that's where I was a year ago. Where am I now? We're going to have to wrap this up. My throat's on fire. Well, a year later, I'm at 436 episodes. I'm at 370,000 views. I'm at 5,000 subscribers. I'm in my own apartment with sound paneling, a professional microphone, a professional camera, lighting, soundproofing. I sell my own merch, and the podcast pays for my rent. At no point did it feel like any of that happened, yet here we are. So, where are we going to be in a year? Like, that seems absurd. Like, that truly seems absurd. Like, I was hoping to break 1,000 subscribers by April 2021. If I could go back to me a year ago and tell you, Tommy, just stick fucking with it, dude, and your wildest dreams will come true. I thought I'd get to 1,000, and I didn't want to, like, get my hopes up, but I also thought there was a chance of, like, maybe I'd be at, like, 2. Maybe something good would happen. I truly did not see me having a salary with what I would argue is a professional studio. For me, at least. Fuck off. Truly beyond my wildest dreams. I would have said that this was a delusion. So where do I think it will be in a year? And I have to be careful not to be overly, like, humble, because you can do that. You can say, oh, I think I'll only have 5,100 subscribers. And it's like, well, you knew you were going to get more than that. So where do I actually think it will go? Yeah, you don't want to set the bar too low, because then, of course, you're going to blow past it. I think there's a chance that the YouTube censorship will continue. This is, let's say I don't get banned. I think there's a chance the YouTube censorship will continue. I think at that rate, because I don't get subscribers anymore. I don't just get, like, a new subscriber a day. It only comes from, like, paid promotions or, like, shout outs from other channels. They've halted it. My stuff just doesn't get recommended. But let's okay. Let's say, so truly, I mean, this might sound like I'm lowballing it. I see it maybe being at 6,000 subscribers in a year. That's how my gut feels, and I do mean that. You might say, well, that's not at all with, like, at the very least, to look at the trend line. I understand that, but the trend line, it's not taking into it. I can't keep paying for paid promotions, and I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to pay any more money to this. Well, it's not this company. I guess it's independent advertisers, whatever. I'm not going to do that for a company that might eat me at any second. At the rate it's going right now, I'd say maybe we hit 6,000 subscribers. If we look at the trend lines, I would say, for whatever reason, let's say it follows the trend lines. My gut says 6,000. Trend lines would say probably be at 10,000. Gut says gut says gut says 650,000 views. 6,000 subscribers, 650,000 views. Trend lines would say 10,000 subscribers, 3 million views. Not that I don't see. I'd like to be wrong. I'd really like to be wrong. I don't see that. I think the studio will probably be the same. I'd like for hoodie sales to... Right now we're at about one a month. I would like to maybe get that to one a week. I think that's realistic. I think one hoodie sale a week by 2022. Complete no bullshit. May 6, 2022. 7,500 subscribers. 500,000 views. One hoodie a week. Podcast is the same. I like to be at 190 pounds. Episode number, that doesn't really, because that's completely under my control. Yeah, 7,500 subscribers, 500,000 views, hoodie a week. Yeah. Would I be happy with that? Not really. Not really at all. I would like to see Spotify. That's... Fuck YouTube. I think the reason why I wouldn't, because I don't care, and like it just feels like it's all stacked against you. There's like no point in playing the game when it's stacked against you. Spotify, I'd like to get to by 2022. So how about fuck YouTube? By 2022, I'd like to get to 100 plays a day on Spotify. I'd like to be selling one hoodie a week, maybe two. Hoodie a day would be really badass, but I feel like that's probably 2023. Yeah, 100 plays a day, sell a hoodie a week. If by May 6, 2022, I was getting 100 plays a day on Spotify and selling one hoodie a week, I would be proud of that. That's something I would be proud of. It's something I think is doable, and it's something I'd be proud of. By May 6, 2023, 1,000 views a day on Spotify. I'd like to sell a hoodie a day or a merch item a day, whatever. By May 6, 2020, so we just did 2, 3. By May 6, 2024, 10,000 plays a day on Spotify, 5 merch sales a day. Yeah. I would like for my growth to be representative of the work I put in. I'm fine with if it doesn't work because my content's shit. I can pivot, I can reinvent myself, and I can go forward. I don't like the idea of like it not working because YouTube says it's politically not what they want. But that doesn't really matter what my opinion is on how I'd like for it to be. This is the hand I'm dealt. Yeah. Well, that's all I got, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Buy merch. I know it's summer. Buy a hoodie. Fuck you. You know what? That's why. Just tell everyone around you, fuck you. When they ask where you got the hoodie, be like, yo, I got it from this podcast. And they'll be like, well, why'd you get a hoodie? And they're going to watch the podcast, and they're going to be like, I understand why you got a hoodie now. All right, guys, much love. Stay safe. Be grateful for what you have. We are alive right now in a beautiful fucking world. You have at least one loved one. That's awesome. Tell them you love them. This Sunday is Mother's Day, everybody. Put it on your calendar right now. Don't say, oh, whoops, I forgot. Right now. Just text yourself right now. Sunday, Mother's Day. Just text yourself, all caps. Just do it right now. You're welcome. Go see your mothers. You motherfuckers.